What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for clicking this video. My name is Skellige and this YouTube channel is all about bringing you fun and competitive decks to play, sometimes very cheap decks as well. So if that's what you're into, consider subscribing to my channel at the end of this video. I got this awesome comment of Chris R, which I just wanted to highlight on screen real quick. He said he is new to Gwent and is currently using the Northern Realms budget deck, and he is expanding on it with cards from the Way of the Witcher set, which is awesome. Chris, thank you for the comment and the sub. I hope I helped you out with the answer in the comments. To all of you, I will be highlighting a comment on every video from now on, so keep them coming. It is the new year, it's a new weekend, and it's the perfect time to show you guys the TLG Skellige budget deck. Nice. Maybe you are a starting player or you just want to expand your arsenal of factions you master and you want to try out Skellige. Either way, this deck is a great option to get your feet wet with the faction. I do hear you thinking, but Skellige, is this deck still viable after Way of the Witcher got released? And I would say yes, but I will talk more about that at the end of this video. But first, a huge shout out to Wusubi and Hippo from Team Leviathan Gaming for creating these decks. They put a lot of effort in the creation of the decks, including all upgrade paths, so be sure to check out their website, which I will link in the description below, of course. And you can also find a link to import this deck to your deck library over there. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notified when I update the budget decks with the Way of the Witcher bronze cards, which I will be making over the next few weeks, as well as a list of cool decks to play in the upcoming seasonal mode. But without further ado, let's take a look at what TLG created for aspiring Skellige players. So let's walk you through the deck, which by the way runs the tactical advantage stratagem, since well, it's a budget deck and it's a pretty decent option to protect your valuable units anyway. The original idea of the deck was to build towards a Patricidal Fury deck with Herald and Craite. Now he does not get added until the second upgrade, but the self-damaging bloodthirsty warriors synergize very well with it. Patricidal Fury is a great tempo tool and is very good for short rounds or long rounds where you need to activate your bloodthirst, so he can be used in multiple ways. The prime example of bloodthirsty warriors are Craite Greatswords. They might take some time to set up. Most ships would probably be played so that you can start healing them back up straight away, but this is a very core card in the deck. It synergizes just very well with dealing damage to multiple enemies, which is a theme you'll see throughout the deck. Svanrige Tuirseach is another card that benefits greatly from having 3 damage enemies, which is not too hard to do at all with this deck. It is a great tempo card for shorter rounds or to finish a round after your opponent has passed. Then we have Giant Boar. Man, this might actually be my favorite card in the deck, as he is super rewarding to play when you make a real giant boar. He basically serves the same purpose as Svanrige Tuirseach, and he is a bit harder to get value out of, but he has a bigger point ceiling as well. So he is a bit more high risk, high reward, as sometimes he just sits in your hand and ends up coming down as like a 5 power card for 7 proficiencies, which is pretty shitty. But then again, getting value out of cards like this is what the deck and the faction is all about, so whether you like that or not is probably a pretty good indicator as to whether or not you should play Skellige. Then we move on to Donar and Hindar. A great addition to the deck. His deploy helps you get an unit bloodthirsted, and when you get to enemies damage he becomes pretty serious removal. It has a bit of a win more tag applied to it, since this card can be tricky to play under suboptimal circumstances when you are behind. Dimun pirate captains are great for their provision cost, and they are basically Donar and Hindar's little brother. The only difference being that Dimun pirate captains don't have a braided moustache. Seriously. You literally can't run Skellige without ships, and this list runs a tight ship package with raiding fleet at the top end. Now you should be careful to not break this card, so I usually mulligan the Dimun light longships away in order to always have a ship in my deck to pull out with raiding fleet. The other 2 ships are Craite Longships, and honestly these are like super great. I love opening the round with them. They are vulnerable to removal, but these guys can rack up a ton of points for just 5 proficiencies, or keep your opponent from gathering points rather. They do everything you want your board to do, and in this deck that's why I always keep those in. They're great to put down before dropping cards like Craite Greatswords and great bronzes to pull from your graveyard, which you can do with Freya's Blessing. Dear God, it's almost like this list has some synergy in it, right? But this card is great. For me, it's always a toss on the first mulligan, as you obviously start round 1 with an empty graveyard. The deck relies on Craite Greatswords and Craite Longships quite a bit, so if you can bring those back, you are getting the most bang for your buck with this card. And since you are damaging quite a lot of your own units, it's usually not too hard to get good value from Heymaey Herbalist. If these hit the full heal, it's 8 points for 5 provisions, guys. 8 points for 5 provisions, and it's a bronze, so you can do it twice. It's honestly pretty nutty. And then there are quite a few cards that help you get the aforementioned cards to get off their Bloodthirst abilities. So after the leader ability, Lacerate is probably the greatest, especially when your opponents go wide. In fact, if you're facing a lot of decks that go wide, like Northern Realms Witchers or Scoia'Tael, this deck will probably do great, just because of those two abilities. Lacerate is absolutely great to pair with the Giant Boar, and those cards together are probably one of the most potent combos in the deck, so please do keep that in mind. Udalryk on Brokvar is a unit that helps set the Bloodthirst nicely. Keep in mind, it's quite easily removed, it just has 4 power, so you usually want to wait until you can get the Zeal off, as it really sucks having him removed without spending charges. But then again, this also is a great card to help set up your Boar. Of course, the budget deck player's best friend, Alzur Thunder, has a place in the list. Usually it gets used as removal, but you can set up Bloodthirst or deny stuff like Dominance for your opponent as well, depending on what you face. And this budget deck would not be a budget deck without our trusted friend Geralt of Rivia. He will almost always find a target in this meta. Thunderbolt, which is honestly pretty great to protect your Craite Longships and the Craite Greatswords. Mr. Lock on a Stick, he adds a great body to the deck and adds some useful utility, and the list spends the very last card slots on our furry friends, the Elder Bearers. So I'm going to take the deck for a spin. There are timestamps in the description if you want to skip straight to the verdict. Mind you, I am currently rank 6, which is usually not where you want to be on the ladder with a budget deck, but let's see if we can snag a win or two. Alright, so I'm obviously mulliganing Freya's Blessing, as we will start out with an empty graveyard. I prefer to get no duplicates of these. I do have 2 Greatswords, so that's obviously an exception as to where Heymaey Herbalist might be somewhat useful. I just want to have some more options to play with. So that turns out alright. We do actually have like a raiding fleet, 2 Craite Greatswords and then Craite Longship in our hand. So I'd say this is a relatively strong opening hand if you look at what the rest of the deck can do. Not sure if this guy is playing a meta deck actually. Alright, that complicates things. Let's see if we can kill this off with the raiding fleet and pull another ship. Was actually hoping for the Craite Longship, as it's easier to set up for the Craite Greatsword. It just keeps going automatically. This works fine. And we can heal this with the Heymaey Herbalist as well. Alright, never mind. We might actually end up passing real soon in this this round. I'll just go down to 7 cards and hope he goes down to 6 and then we'll pass. Actually quite like his avatar. Alzur's cross in the eye.
The Enchant are different, more knowing and dignified.
Yeah, we're calling it a day. Right now, Freya's Blessing can actually pull a ship out, which is nice. Already spent the raiding fleet, so having this in our hand is alright. We could go for a giant boar paired with the leader ability this round. Just not too sure about Thunderbolt right now. This is decent, I'd say. We'll see if he pushes us or if he gives us a dry pass, right?
You annoy me.
So we want him to go wide, then have a lot of bloodthirst going on, and win the round with a giant boar. We do have the tools for that.
The Great Mother's grace is
Sure.
boundless.
So we'll both have 10 cards next round. Even amount of mulligans, that's fine. Especially since we really got owned in the first round. But we'll see what we can do in a long round. This long round is probably stronger than our long round. Will Geralt find a target? He probably will. So we can finish the round with Svanrige and the Giant Boar. If Geralt doesn't find the target, I'm honestly fine with this.
Modern Freya is patient. She brooks no insult.
It's kind of annoying they keep moving around my crap. Really hurts the deck. Now it is a bit greedy to wait with Patricidal Fury for the second Greatsword.
Your next move shall be your last.
Right, with poison, that's alright.
On Craite! Blood washes away all shame.
This actually might help him. Like a lot of Scoia'Tael cards benefit greatly from having more units on a single row.
The gods won't be pleased.
We can, like, things with harmony units, I can damage them, but he will probably buff them straight up again. So you want the cards to be damaged. Like if I take away this boost to 3, it won't be damaged. So I actually need to ping this twice in order for it to count as Bloodthirst.
It gets easier.
And now this doesn't count as Bloodthirst anymore, which is kind of annoying. This will probably be our Geralt target. It's actually great that our Craite Greatsword lived. Famous last words, by the way. Maybe we should have killed this off with Alzur's Thunder. Not sure what the best target will be. Yeah. Still get to do that.
I didn't sheathe it till the ground was slick with blood.
Hmm. I should probably have used the lock earlier. Locking this one because I'm locking the Dana. We'll probably Geralt this one. So it's alright to let this one grow.
Modern Freya will protect us.
It's a shame he has a lot of harmony going on, because that means a lot of his units get healed back up, so they actually get boosted instead of proccing Bloodthirst, which is kind of annoying. Like, the movement stuff makes it hard. Still has 2 cards left. Rough times. I'd expect him to win by a bigger margin. Didn't do too bad. Like, this guy's deck is like super meta. We lost the long round by like 15 points, which isn't a whole lot, to be fair. 2 arms.
The North shall tuck tail and beg for mercy.
Sure, dude. Whatever. This needs to go. Right, this is interesting because we have 3 ships, so there is a second Craite Longship in the deck, which we will pull with raiding fleet. So if we mulligan anything other than excuse me, if we mulligan anything other than a ship away, we have a pretty high chance of breaking the raiding fleet. I'm putting a Longship away. Oh, we found a Lacerate, which is great, because we have a giant boar as well. It is actually an interesting lock unit. or an interesting unit to lock because it has a simulant, so it will be big, and we deny the order. So I don't think we find a better target soon. That says it's a pretty decent target.
You will not regret this, sir.
All these signs mean but one thing.
So this is interesting because this should be relatively easy to kill off. And it will be worth because it's assimilate. Darn, purify. Actually, with all the boosts going on, it's pretty hard to get damage units because if you want to get bloodthirst on of this guy, you need to damage it by 5, 6 even. Not cool. Let's get rid of this guy.
Pansy.
I actually picked this card.
You're good. Real good.
I might just uninstall right now. Actually, he might go real wide with this, which will maybe set up a pretty nice giant boar lacerate combo. Something to hope for, right?
The Great Mother's grace is boundless.
So we need to can actually play it straight away. It's actually a weird tactic to have him summon more Trimmed Queen's cards in order to buff up our giant boar, because the damaged Queen's card will be 3 power. This will get 1 power for every boosted unit. So I'm actually not sure if it I believe in my own tactics. So this plays for 11 minus 3 is 8 points. Plus 4 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Let's do it. Alright, forgot to account for Longship. But it got us ahead. It got us ahead. This is a pretty long row, but it has 2 armored units and 3 units that only have 1 health, so it won't be the best Lacerate. What? I see what you're doing. So if I use Lacerate to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this will be that. 10 points, which will put me at 45. It will be better if I use it later. Playing this guy first. You only live once! Will this matter? You won't gain new charges, right? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh! This is why Lacerate is in all budget decks, guys. Like in situations like this, it can just win you around basically, which is like super nice. So Nilfgaard actually doesn't have a whole lot of proactive plays. If you play just the Elderbearer, you probably won't be able to respond to it and play an assimilate unit, which we can use Alzur's Thunder on. So we might try to bleed him that way. Let's see if we can set us up for a... yeah, I could see myself going for a ship in round 3. Maybe we just want the ship though. Try unlock this. So actually when you're playing like a super budget deck versus players with like a lot stronger decks, like despite your deck initially maybe want to play a longer round, you usually want to play or try to bleed your opponents in round 2, because on average the cards of your opponent will just be stronger. That's weird because you usually play this after playing an assimilate unit. So his hand is probably suboptimal, so you might try to punish that. We could just kill it, which will make things rough for him because he probably only has reactive stuff in his hand. Or we can play the Dimun Longship. It will get damaged. Like even if he does play something with assimilate, I think he doesn't have something with assimilate because otherwise he would play that before he would play Telekinesis. Right, he really needs to start dishing out points. Amazing play, man. Amazing play. It is no use to us to play it in the first round. This probably will die, but it will cost him a card. It's actually pretty huge to get it out of my opponent. Or does he know? That says Echo, right? Or did it already have Doom? I wasn't paying attention. Right, so we play this, we gain 5 points. We damage 1. It's netto, same points, but this one heals by 1. So we can get to 20, which doesn't do jack shit. And he will know. Like, we got a lot of golden stuff out of his hands with just great swords and elder bears, which is kind of funny. Let's see if we can drive this game home. Not you. You? Bronze Skellige units. You can open up with an Craite Greatsword. Probably won't get enough bloodthirst going, which kind of sucks. The only way to get a lot of bloodthirst going is by playing the Longship, but this will probably just grow in size, unless this is great. We get the kill of the assimilate guy. But do we kill it, or are we greedy and do we summon an Craite Longsword, Greatsword rather, before we do this? No. Like, really the weakness of Nilfgaard is they don't have a lot of proactive stuff to do, rather than stealing stuff. In order, I want to get the Svanrige off. The only way.
But she brooks no insult.
Darn it! Should have damaged 1 first. The only way to get it off. Right, that was likely a misplay. I think I should have gone for the Heymaey Herbalist to heal this up, which would have been 8 points. But we do get this off, which is huge for us. Oh man! No! No! Oh, so close. So, can or should you play this deck now that the Way of the Witcher expansion has already been out for a few weeks? Look, let me explain. If you want to play a tier 1 deck that can compete with the very best decks all up the way to pro rank, this is obviously not the deck to do that with. It is a budget deck at the end of the day. The question is, did the new cards and the shift in meta introduced by the Way of the Witcher expansion invalidate this Skellige budget deck? And I personally don't think so. The goal of the deck is to get your feet wet with Skellige as a faction, and you can still very much do that with this deck. And if it's not for you or you don't like it, you only spend a few hundred scraps on it anyway, so there's really not a whole lot to lose. Is there a more optimal version of a Skellige budget deck that includes Way of the Witcher cards? Probably. There are a few bronze cards that are probably good to include, and in fact I will be doing an update on that on this very YouTube channel very soon. But the differences will be very minor, and if you like the faction you will be expanding your collection of Skellige cards anyway, so don't let that stop you from playing this deck, and certainly don't let it stop you from playing Skellige as a faction. There's one more thing I want to say. If you decide to become more serious about playing Skellige, feel free to deviate a bit from the upgrades provided by the team Leviathan Gaming guide, because they build towards an old meta deck essentially. But do check out the new cards, select them by the crafting coast and just play around with the new bronze cards. They are tons of fun and fit very well into the archetype of this deck. And they will teach you a lesson or two about tinkering with your own deck, which is fun and rewarding in its own way. I hope you found this video informative. Hit the comment section as I will be highlighting the most heartwarming comment from now on. I will also be updating a TLG budget deck series with cards of the Way of the Witcher set, and next week I got an awesome video coming up on the seasonal mode, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be one of the first to play those decks. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.
Now watch this. Come on.